Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of r/entitled parents. This has quickly become my favorite subreddit just because the absurdity of people in the universe. So let's go on with the first story. You can't use an EpiPen in here. EP, entitled parent, CK, clueless kid, W, waiter, me. So a little backstory. This story happened a few years ago. I have a severe nut allergy, so bad that my throat can swell and possibly close from even the smell of nuts. I was visiting my grandparents in Boulder, Colorado for a while, because my parents, who I was living with at the time, were on a cruise in the Caribbean. I'd stayed around the house for a while that morning, and I was getting bored, so I decided to go downtown for lunch. I'd been to a certain cafe, which served paninis and other sandwiches for lunch, in Boulder a couple of times, so I knew it was safe to eat there. It was a nice day out, so I ordered a sandwich and went to the outside dining area. My food came relatively quick, just as EP and CK arrived at the cafe. EP ordered a panini and a coffee, while getting nothing for her son, which I thought was odd, since he loudly complained that he was hungry multiple times since they walked in. They sat down at the table next to me, and I noticed her son staring at my food. I waved at him, and then went back to eating my sandwich. EP got her food, and her son just started to complain that he was hungry again. She sharply whispered something to him, reached in her purse, and brought out a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for her son. I did not notice at the time, as I was on my phone and still eating my food. It was only when I finished eating my sandwich that I started feeling choked. I immediately looked around me because this cafe was almost completely devoid of nuts. When I saw CK chewing on his sandwich, me. Hi, would you please tell me where you got that sandwich? CK stares blankly at me. EP, that's none of your business. Stop bothering my son. I was starting to feel weak. I always carry an EpiPen with me when I go out in public, so I took it out of my pocket when EP starts screaming. You cannot use that here. I'll call the effing cops, you pervert, trying to teach my son how to use drugs. The waiter rushes over. Waiter, hello ma'am, this is not a drug. This looks like an EpiPen. I could barely breathe at this point. I just needed to get an injection. The woman then proceeded to snatch my EpiPen from my hands and throw it into the street. Another waitress ran out the door to retrieve my EpiPen, while the waiter starts yelling at her while her kid starts crying. Waiter, what the F? He looks like he's going to die. He calls 911 while making sure she stays where she is. At this point, I'm curled up on the ground, fighting for every breath. The waitress runs back inside and hands me the EpiPen. I could barely release the safety and stick it in my leg. The police arrive a few minutes before the paramedics do, first questioning EP and the waiter, then arresting her after spotting a prescription drug bottle that didn't belong to her inside her purse. I don't know what happened to her kid, but I was taken to hospital, feeling much better after the EpiPen and released almost immediately after getting a new pen. This story's insane. That person could have died because of some entitled parent's moronic thoughts that she thought of an EpiPen was drugs. EP thinks they deserve my plane seat. This happened a few months ago, and it turned out to be longer than I thought when I typed it out. I was flying one of these cheap airlines where the seats are all crammed together, so I paid extra for a seat with more legroom, which also gave me free priority boarding. Usually don't care for that, but when you've got a cabin bag, getting on early is important, so you don't have to keep it onto your seat. After being one of the first people on board the plane is now pretty much fully boarded. Enter entitled mother and son. About 12, I would guess. I see them talking to a crew member for a while, but go back to listening to my music while I feel a tap on my shoulder, so I remove my headphones. S. Hey, I was flying with my mom and was wondering if you could swap seats with her so we could sit together? I look over to where his mom is sitting, and it's a standard seat. Me. No, I'm sorry. Kid looks a bit defeated, but walks away. I put my headphones in and start to relax when I hear a loud voice. Entitled mother. Excuse me? Me. Yes? Entitled mother. Me and my son need your seat as he is scared of flying, so we need to sit together. Me. I'm sorry to hear that, but I paid extra for a seat with extra legroom, so I won't be switching to a standard seat. Entitled mother. You're sitting next to the only open seat. You have to swap with me. Me, starting to get annoyed that she won't take no for an answer. No, I don't, and if you needed to sit together, you should have paid extra to choose your seats, not bet that you can switch seats later. Entitled mother, clearly starting to get agitated. I can't afford to pay extra for that. Just because you're rich doesn't mean everyone is. I'm a parent, so I have to save money. Now swap seats. I'm not sure how rich I have to be to afford the 5 to 15 euros it costs to select a seat, but alright. I'm really starting to get annoyed she won't leave me alone. Me. I'm not going to swap with you. Now please leave me alone. Entitled mother raising her voice even more. The stewardess said you have to swap so we can sit together now. Do what she said and move. Flight crew. How can I help you? Me. This lady wants to swap seats with me and says you told. I get interrupted by entitled mother now yelling. He won't move. You told us he had to swap seats with us now. Make him move. Flight crew. Giving me a supportive look and mouths, I'm sorry. She turns to entitled mother. I told you this is the only open seat, so if you want to sit together, you could ask him if he is okay with swapping, not that you could force him to move. If he doesn't want to swap with you, you will have to go take your assigned seat. Entitled mother. I have to sit next to my son. You have to get this retard to move or sit us somewhere else, or I'm going to sue you and delay this plane. Flight crew. If you had to sit next to each other, you should have paid to select seats. Now I've had enough of your tone, and you either stop bothering this man and go back to your seat, or I will have the captain deplane you. Entitled mother. Looks like she's going to explode. She stands there for a moment before turning around and heading back to her seat, mumbling something. The captain calls out the cabin crew prepare for takeoff message, and I start to let go of the tension that's built up. Flight crew, smiling. Is this seat taken? I can't help but laugh as she sits down. Flight crew. I'm so sorry about that. When I told them to ask you, I didn't think this would happen. I told her it was fine, and we had a pretty nice chat during takeoff until she went back to do her job. She also gave me a free drink once service started, so despite the annoying start, it turned into a pretty nice flight. No ma'am, your son cannot play with our shrine. Alright, to start things off, I'll give you guys a little backstory, and some information that will be useful during this story. My parents divorced about 2 years ago, and my mother fell in love with this Korean man. Now at first I didn't like him, because I'm a rebellious teen, but after a while we hung out and got along really well. He's a really nice guy, and the only thing that would be considered bad is that he's very, very religious. Now I personally don't believe in what he believes in, but I respect his beliefs as he does mine. So he's a manager at a local nail salon. You know, the ones with the women with the fake names and stuff? Yeah, turns out those are actually real. And the people who work there are surprisingly nice. Now I spent months learning Korean for my stepdad, as his English was bad. Like, he'd mix up very simple words, so he mostly spoke Korean. Now while legally I can't work at a salon because of the products they use, the physical contact and the skills required, however I can help out after school, which is what I usually do. One day this woman walks in, EP, and her son, EK, who appeared about 10 to 11ish. This woman sits down in one of the waiting chairs. We have 2 sections of chairs, right beside the door so people can get in and just sit down. She plops down and pulls out her phone. Keep in mind she has like this mega can I see the manager haircut. So I already know where this is going to go. Even after reading a lot of EP stories, this still surprised me. Now my stepdad asks if I could take her and see what she wants. I smile and oblige, as I love helping out. I was sweeping at the time, so I go to put down the broom in the back room. As I get back, I notice EK touching the shrine in the left corner. Now we have a sign on that shrine specifically saying that no one should touch it. The kid is just playing with it though, picking it up, shaking it and stuff. I kindly ask him to stop, as he may not have known what it was and thought it was a toy. The kid drops the shrine face first and glares at me. I rush over to see if it's okay, as it is a wooden-based shrine with some metal in it for decoration. It's fine, thank God, but suddenly I get a tap on my shoulder. EP. Excuse me, but my son was playing with that. I kindly turn around, and what do you know? This whale of a woman has her hands on her hips, giving me a death glare, visibly upset. I calmly say in my best customer service voice, "Ma'am, this is not a toy. It is in fact a religion." I was cut off. EP. I don't give a damn what it was. He was playing with it, now give it back. I'm a bit flustered, but I try to reason with her. Keep in mind, there's now more people sitting in the waiting chairs, and I've yet to take this woman's check-in and sit her down. I once again try and reason with her, as now my stepdad is peering at the situation, and I don't want it to upset him. Ma'am, please listen to me. What your child almost damaged was a religious shrine. Out of respect, can you please tell him to stop? EP was not happy at all. Don't tell me how to raise my child. She begins to swear at me, telling me that I'm a mother effing or a bitch or ugly. I'm used to this kind of stuff. As I go to high school, I'm used to being bullied. I ask her kindly to lower her voice, as it could disturb the focus of the employees. This woman does something I've never even fathomed would come from this situation. Now keep in mind, I have bad acne. Like, it's all over my face, so randomly one could pop open if it hit hard enough. The EP slaps me across the face, claiming I was disrespectful to her and that she was gonna call the police. One of the waiting men stands up, noticing that some blood is now rushing down my face, presumably from the slap. It was just a pimple that had been popped, but oh boy did it look bad for her. The man asked if she was aware that she just committed child abuse. EP jerks her head back and yells, "What are you, some sort of cop?" I can't describe my luck in this situation. This man would have seemed like a man with his child, waiting to get her nails done like a normal civilian. He pulls a badge from his pocket, revealing that he was the local police department, and this woman was under arrest for assault on a minor. EP's face goes white. After being escorted to a police car that had been called in, EK was taken home by his grandma, watching his own mother being taken away by the police. I kind of feel sorry for EK as he was just taught wrong. As EP was driven away, I flipped her off and smiled. I resumed work after that with the biggest of grins on my face. karma is a bitch. That right there is some poetic justice. What are you, a police officer? And in actual fact, he is a police officer. That is pure beauty. Beauty. Being bisexual is really offensive to EPs. So a little context first. I'm bisexual, meaning I date girls and boys. I was, for the time, dating a cool guy. We resolved to drinking some coffee, so we went to an off-brand Starbucks. I'm really open about being bi, so I don't mind holding hands or kissing in public. Now to the story. Me and my date were on a table in the corner of the OBS, off-brand Starbucks, and we just ordered. We talked a bit, I don't remember what he said, but he was a cute thing. So I kissed him, just a peck on his lips. We didn't know that a family of really easily offended people were on our side. They didn't like our gayness. A middle-aged woman with a kid and a small bald man came up to our table, EP. A neckbeard, EM. Dolores Umbridge, me, a unicorn. My date, a bull. Literally, my date was a 6'7" gym freak. EM, excuse me? Her tone was so sweetly fake that I became diabetic. Could you please not do that in public? I knew what she was talking about, but to be sure, I feigned ignorance. Me, do what, madam? She rolled her eyes as if I was an idiot. EM, kissing in public? Me, why would I? This is a public place. I don't think the owner is against people kissing. I told her in a calm manner, putting a hand on my date's hand. He was gay. I really didn't like prejudice. He was short-tempered too, so I needed to calm him down. EP, it's not all people, just... He let the phrase hang on the air, but after an awkward silence, seeing that neither of us would complete the phrase, he said, gay people. My date looked angry, but I squeezed his hand and said, you know, what you're doing is a crime. If you don't get out of my face now, I will call the cops. I said in a firm but calm voice. The EM did not like my response. EM, what you are doing is a crime in the eyes of God. Why? Why God? Someone had to put a word against gay people in the Bible. Why? Me. I think God would be more offended by you being a bigoted idiot than he would be offended by me being gay. The manager had come to aid us. He had heard the entire thing and kindly told them to get out of the OBS. The family grumbled but exited the building. He asked us if we were okay and apologized for the family. Now for the fun part. You thought the EPs were mad because their young child seeing a gay couple? Wrong. Later that day, I received a message from a girl I dated some months prior. We didn't click, but we were cool about that. Begging me to forgive her parents about the incident. Yep. The entitled couple were the parents of this girl, and they were mad at me for not dating their daughter, and more mad that they discovered that I was bi. In other words, trading her, their princess, for a man. So they approached my person with the intent of harassing my date and I told her that it wasn't her fault and it was cool. Moral of the story, if you want to be gay, go to a Starbucks, not an off-brand. So these parents tried to break up this guy's date because he said no to their daughter essentially, and it made it worse to them because he was bi. The world is a magical place. Magical. Okay, that's going to be it for today's episode of r/entitled parents. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell to be notified of all future uploads. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.